So this Father's Day today, I was asked to speak today, and so I think talking to men here is going to be most of what I'll do. So the women, there might be a few things for you as well, and if you really want to, you probably can apply most of what I'm speaking to yourself as well. But my main focus is going to be addressing men and fathers in general. But it's not just men or just not fathers, but in general. The first scripture that we're going to look at is 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13 and 14. It is an interesting thing. We hear the word man quite often, and the Bible even talks about it. It says, be watchful, stand firm in your faith, act like men, brave and courage, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love. Act like men. What does that really mean? When I'm supposed to act like men, what does that mean to you? If we hear that quite often. Man up. Be like a man already. Like we hear a lot of that, those statements kind of in a negative way, right? If somebody's frustrated, then you hear that. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2, we read another one of those things. I'm about to go the way of all the earth. Be strong and show yourself a man. And keep the charge of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and keeping his statutes, his commandments, his rules, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you turn. It says again, show yourself a man. And so I wonder sometimes, what does that mean? I've asked me the question. When the Bible talks about saying, act like men, or show yourself like a man, what does that really mean? We hear that quite often, right? And I think if we had a discussion, we would have all kinds of ideas, and some of those things would probably be true. Some of our ideas might not be so true. So we have something to live up to. A lot of that is about identity. If you're supposed to act like a man, then in essence it speaks about who you are, who you are supposed to be, who God designed you to be. If we're supposed to act like men, then we are supposed to be true to our nature, who God implanted. When he designed you and he wrote in his book that's for you in heaven what you were going to be and what you were going to do, because the Bible says that before you were created there is a book written, and what you are, who you are, what God sees you, who are you implanted to be. That's who you are. That's your identity. We're going to speak a little bit more about identity later yet, but I think that's what in essence it is when we're supposed to talk, says that act like men. Like, be yourself. Now, in essence, I'm going through a season, I think, where God is trying to show me in a deeper level what it means to be yourself. And which an interesting season I'm at is right now. But be yourself. I think when you truly be yourself, you're a wonderful you. You're a wonderful you. When we are ourself, our true self, we're not acting the way others are thinking we should be or put pressure on, peer pressure. I know for students it's often a big thing that peer pressure puts on you, right? You dress like they want you to dress. You talk like they want you to talk. You act like they want you to talk and act. And so the peer pressure from around us, the culture, social media, everywhere you go, there is some sort of a you that is being portrayed, right? You're supposed to look like this, you're supposed to talk like this, and that's who you are. And we tend to conform to that. The Bible says, do not conform to this world, right? The patterns of this world. So that's why we need to know who am I? Who's God called me to be? We find in 1 Corinthians, it talks about that when I was a child, I talked like a child. Paul writes that. But then it says, when I became a man, I put away childish things. So we're not going to go all in on what it means to be a man. At the same time, today we're going to talk a little bit about building a house and how we become balanced in this house. I found it interesting that a lot of these songs that we were singing this morning, we're talking or we were singing about building. Christ as the cornerstone, building on a firm foundation, and how that fits with the theme of this message. So that's encouraging to me. We're going to talk a little bit about building a house, and every house that we build has 4 corners, right? Jesus is the cornerstone, and we're supposed to build on his foundation. Every corner of the house has pillars, and so we have 4 pillars that I want to take a look on today. And if one of those pillars leans one way or the other way, when the foundation is all of a sudden not strong or is wrong or we build our life on the wrong foundation, on lies that we believe that were not true, then all of a sudden we start to sink in one way or the other way. And we're going to look a little bit on what that might look like. The first pillar that we're going to look like is the man as a shepherd king, as a king. I think that is an interesting thing that we find in the Bible, multiple scriptures where we are the leaders, where we are kings, and some of these pillars that we're going to look for, we find scripture for. And I think the title is it's a man in balance, and I think if we are balancing our pillars, then the house can become strong. It is built on solid foundation, and it's not going to lean one way or the other. It's not going to fly away. And there is peace and harmony in a house that's built on solid pillars. So the first one is the king. The king speaks about being a provider. I think God has called every man to be a provider of the house, be a provider of something. We provide, if you're married and have family, you work, you provide for the family. When we say the word king, what does come to your mind? What comes to your mind? What picture is in your mind when you hear the word that you are a king or the word king? Many of us, we probably think of a king as a person who has royalty, who is rich, who sits up high on a throne, and those kind of things, right? That's for me at least. In Canada, we probably are very familiar with the King Charles right now, and in that whole kingdom, we might know a little bit about that, what that looks like and what that means. Some of you might think, when you think of a king as a dictator, as a ruler, somebody who has control and authority. And those are true of all of that. At the same time, many of us probably have had a negative experience of a king of some sort. Either if your father represents the king to you, then you might have a negative experience of one kind or the other. And so sometimes we need to correct that. A shepherd king, they're almost equal to itself. The men are supposed to be the shepherd, the one who cares for the flock, for somebody outside of himself. It's interesting that we are born inherently selfish. We want to do everything for ourselves. It's mine. I work for my money. I work for me. The children, as soon as they can talk, one of the first words they say is mine, right? We don't want to share things. It's always mine. It's mine. As little kids, we take away the toys from others because it's mine. I want it. It's me. And so we're kind of born selfish. And yet God calls us to be servants. God calls us to be giving for others. And so it's an upside down. We need to retrain ourselves. And somewhere along life, we hope that happens. We find in the first point here is that a servant leader. As a king, we are supposed to be servants. Not selfish, not for me, but for others. We find in Matthew 20, verse 25, it says, Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers on the Gentiles of the Gentiles lord over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be a servant." Again, whoever wants to become great among you must be a servant. And whoever wants to wants to be first must be a slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life for a ransom for many. So being a servant, it's not being a boss. If you are a leader, a king, doesn't mean that you're bossing around everybody and says this is how you're supposed to do. Much rather you are leading by servant. You're not demanding, but you're caring. See, that becomes easy. If we are demanding, then because I'm a king, right? If you say I'm a king, all of a sudden you have to serve me. You have to do for me again. That's a selfish way. On the opposite side, we are supposed to serve. We're supposed to be caring for others. Not walking on your nose high and you think that you've got it all. Much rather we stoop down to help. It's not necessarily being lazy, that everybody's doing the work for you, but it's hard work, it's labor. A servant king serves, cares for, and helps those around you. Leadership, in most simple way, is influence, and really is the power to evoke the best and the right emotions, a response from others. That's really what leadership comes to. And so you as a man are called to be a leader. And we're called to get the right response and from somebody else. And we do that mostly by serving. We lead by example. We serve others. And as a king shepherd, it's that part of you that God has called you to be a leader, the provider, the one that's leading your family, leading yourself, leading your whoever you have. If you are married, and let's say it's Father's Day, so if you're a father, then you will lead your family. And so we're supposed to be leaders. We are leading others. We care deeply about those around us. And again, we have to overcome that selfish part of me, because it's easy for me to think that life is about me. And when you do not me good, if you do not serve me well, if you do not say hi to me just the right way, then I become grouchy, become upset and angry. And if food isn't ready on time when I come home, if the truck is dirty because whatever, we become a little bit upset. And when it's all about me at that point, and when we become a king, then all of a sudden we need to look at others. And so when a king, like when this pillar moves over to one side, we become passive. A passive person, we know that they are very indifferent. They don't really care. They don't take their responsibility serious. They're just lazy, and a passive king just does not take his authority, doesn't take his office serious. On the other side, the opposite side, if we lean on one of these sides, if we start to lean, we become oppressive. We all of a sudden are this ruler with this iron fist. You're going to do what I say, I have authority, and you will do and obey as I say. We all probably know men, fathers like that. Maybe you grew up in a household where your father was this oppressive, iron fist, strong ruler of the house, right? That's also not right. We want a balanced, straight, nice pillar. And so when you become one side or the other side, then we are not in balance. Moving on, this message in essence could be, we could speak a whole hour on each of these items, so I'll squeeze that in here. The second pillar is the man of warrior. You are a warrior. As a man, we are called to fight, we're called to protect, we're called to stand for something. And that is, when you hear the word warrior, you think warrior, what is in your mind? For me, quite often, the word warrior, I see a soldier, probably an ancient Roman soldier picture. Full armor on, big helmet on, all that stuff is a picture of a warrior for me. For you, it might be a little different. Somebody with armed full of guns and whatnot, that's probably your picture, I don't know. But so we are born to be a warrior. Many times you see little children, they will have a sword fight. Small little kids, but they will enjoy some sort of a fight. There is a competition in us men. We love to do something with others, but it's always a little bit of competition. Who can be the strongest? Who's the tallest? Who can run the fastest? There's something about that. And you have these sword fights, And then we quite often as parents will say, oh, no, 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 no. That's aggressive, that's fighting, don't do that. And we make these warriors to be little sheep. And then if they follow nicely and don't make any ruckus or anything, then they're great. We love them. In one sense, that's awesome. But we very often kill the warrior inside a child before they ever have a chance to be a child. Instead of, we should train this warrior to be a godly warrior. Not somebody who loves to fight, not somebody who loves to just constantly pick a fight, but somebody who cares, who protects, and is a warrior in that sense, a godly way. We defend something, we stand for something. We have 2 Corinthians chapter 10, a verse for that. For those who live in this world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons that we fight with are not weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So the weapons that we fight with, the men, and everybody for that matter, we are called to fight, and we fight with weapons that are not of this world. But the weapon that we have through the Spirit, it's a divine power that demolishes strongholds. And strongholds are in our thoughts. They are in our spirit. They are not physical. And so the warrior that we are is to protect, to stand something. We defend something. We look at others and we help. So if you see somebody in hurt, if you see somebody in need, if you see somebody who's desperately hurt, let's say there's an accident and somebody is bleeding, something inside of you wants to go and protect. Or if you see that some guy is bullying somebody, or a child is bullying another child, there's something inside of you, men, that wants to go and protect. And that's a God-given thing. It's the justice inside of us. If we see injustice, we want it to do something to make it right. We want this world to be fair. And so that's the godly side inside of you. We fight against evil, right? We don't just sit there and let it all happen. That's being passive. And many of us grew up in a somewhat passive home, and we are supposed to be warriors that fight, we stand, we protect. We really, really are supposed to protect. Again, quickly, if we move over, if we slide over to one side, we are cowards, we are disgraceful, we are lazy, we don't do nothing. We're afraid of going to fight. We're not standing for anything. We let evil happen right in front of our own eyes. But on the other side, you become a brute. You're very abusive. And it's, again, all about power. It's all about being who you want to be. The brutes, those abusive people, they love conflict. They beat down on others. They look for a fight. They pick a fight anytime they can. And that person alone becomes the evil part of its own family. People like this should be protected against. We need to watch over them. It's a very dangerous person if you are a warrior that is becoming abusive and leaning on one side. Next one. Moving on. Man as a mentor. And this is one, probably the very key one. We as men are called to train, to teach, to show the way, to mentor others. And as a father, that first responsibility is for your children. To mentor and to train and to show wisdom and to guide. And this is where a lot of what we do speaks identity. When we talk about identity, one of the key things, if you did hardly anything as a parent other than just speak identity and destiny over your children, you will win. Speaking identity over your children is very, very important as fathers. I couldn't stress this strong enough, but to tell them who they are, because the question identity asks the question, who am I? Who is this me that I live with every day? And it's God or Satan who wants to speak to that. God says something who you are, but then we also have the devil who, through many means, says who you are or who you are not. Shame will always tell you who you are not. God will say who you are. And so when men, we have the responsibility to speak identity and destiny. Destiny asks the question, why am I here? What is my purpose? And so if you can speak that over your children from a young age and just tell them who they are. Who are you, the God-given you? You will build healthy self-esteem. You will build a healthy image of that child. And I think that's crucial, very, very crucial that we do that. To be a coach, to teach them the rules, the playbook, let's say the Bible, and you tell them what God is expecting, and to show them and live with them and correct them and clean up the mess and just be there as a coach to help them. I think this is a key part that many of us have missed in our life. We either have missed or it has been missed when we grew up. That we didn't have this coach, this mentor in our own house. We had to kind of figure things out on our own. And so when we come out of balance, you either have this person that doesn't learn, he's kind of a lazy, not wanting to take responsibility, you're just like not caring really anymore. Or on the other side, who knows it all. You have this one person, and I think we all know them, the one that knows it all, right? You all know people who have been there where you want to go. You talk about something, oh yeah, I've done it, I've done that, they always know better than you. Those kind of people, they don't feel the need to learn. I've been there already, I'm smart, I know, and so you lean on one side or on the other side quite often. And God has called us to be the man of wisdom, to coach, to teach, and that's who we are in our household. And now again, this doesn't have to be just in your household. I really, really want to encourage and press down the idea that you be a mentor and you have a mentor. We all need wisdom. We all need somebody that can speak into us. We all need somebody that can show us the way. If you find somebody on the other side, if you find somebody that has something that you would like, they are financially well, they have children that seem to do well, their house is peaceful, they're healthy self-esteem, there's something that they have that you would like to get. Go and talk to them. Says, hey, can we have coffee? Let me pick your brain a little bit. I would love to learn from you. Especially the younger generation. I would encourage you, find yourself somebody and ask them, can we talk about this thing that I like about you? Or whatever. Or the older men, find yourself younger ones. If nobody comes to you and God is pointing somebody to you, tell them, hey, let's have coffee. Can we talk and find out how are you doing? We all need both. We need to be a mentor and we need to have a mentor. And that might look very different from person to person. I might read a book, I might read a message. And that we can learn that way. There's lots to be said here, but again, leaning on one side or on the other side, and those are not healthy. Who are the people who have influenced you in your life? Then we have the last pillar, that is the man as a friend. Very, very important again. And this whole point is basically to connect. A friend is there to connect. We make connection. We link our hearts together. And as a father, number one, you want to be a friend to your children. Now, don't mess up the friendship with being a father. In other words, a father, you are a parent first, and then you are a friend. You want to have the children's hearts. You want to connect with the children. You want to be the mentor. You want to be the father there. You want to be the king. You want to be the warrior. But as a friend. And first of all, most of men have hard time having a friend. Many men, you will talk, and I hear this over and over, regardless of where I go, men do not have friends. They might have acquaintances, They might hang out with somebody every once in a while, but to have a close friend, a friend who's going to call them out on something, a friend who's be close enough that you can go and trust and share your life struggle with. Not just that he's going to pity you, but now that he's going to help you, he's going to lift you up. We are not meant to live alone. Adam was alone, and God said it's not good that man be alone. And so I think this is the one that ties all other pillars together. If you are a warrior that is alone, if you are a king who's alone or a mentor who's alone, it's all not good. A friend, and everyone I think has this friend in your chest. You have this friend that you want to be or have, and we just need to go and find it. We need to be that friend. We need to just maybe work on that a bit. Again, we have the friend on one side who is a loner, can't have a friend, is alone, and doesn't even think he needs a friend. And maybe sometimes we even have such low self-esteem about ourselves that we think that I don't deserve a friend, or I can't have a friend. That's not healthy either. God has made you to have friends. Or on the other side, on the one side you lean, and you're a smotherer. You're basically, you can't get enough of other people. You just hang on them everywhere. And then you just want to be with somebody all the time, and you just almost like make them tired. Sometimes when you go somewhere, you feel very encouraged leaving there, right? But sometimes you go to a different place or you hang out with somebody and you feel drained. We need to have both friends, somebody that drains you, that you are giving to, and then we need friends that we can receive from, where there's this mutual agreement, this mutual friendship where we can just be encouraged and live life with. And for a time there was in my life where I felt most of my friends, they were just pulling outside of me. Every time I left, I was dry, I felt discouraged, I was empty. And all of a sudden I realized that I need to find my friends that will encourage me. And you become a whole lot better person when you're happy, when you're encouraged, and you have connections. Connections first with your spouse, with your children, connections with people around you. And men, we tend to be loners. And so I want to really, really encourage that we become friends with other people. Proverbs 18:24 says, "One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." Again, they always say, "Show me your friends and I will tell you who you are." It's very, very true. Choose friends wisely. And I want to encourage you, be that friend, first of all, in your household. Be this man that is a friend, who is encouraging others, who's standing strong, and ties all the others pillars kind of together and makes that the whole house stronger. There is the whole idea of spending time together. Many men like fishing, right? Hunting. And those times that you spend together with family or whoever you go fishing is quite often the time spent for bonding. I think that's why I'm a very strong believer in being with people. Today in social media, we can easily just have virtual friends, right? We can easily have friends on Facebook. For example, I have over 1,000 friends on Facebook. If I would be sick, how many of them would show up? Very few, probably. So just having these virtual friends isn't necessarily the thing. But having physical friends, that's why I'm a strong believer of getting together in person with your peer group, with your families, with your friends, and just be together. Families today, I want to encourage you, have dinner together, eat together, and be present. Men, be present. It's hard sometimes. There's so many demands on us, the voices everywhere, do this, I should do this, but be present. I myself have to work on this all the time and remind myself to be present. When we eat supper, when we eat dinner together, let's just be together. Let's be present. And then connecting is going to be a lot easier. I want to ask the worship team to come up. I think that there is this man that is in balance in all of us. And I think we all want to be in balance. But it is easy for life to happen, and it's easy for us to be out of balance. And I think we all, at some point in time, we have felt, or we might still feel today, a little bit out of balance sometimes. I may be too lazy. I might be passive. I may not the warrior that I should be. I might be a bit scared or not protecting or standing for righteousness. As a man, we are responsible to keep the house in order. The Bible says so. And so, am I lazy? Am I not doing my thing to protect the household? Is your house a place of peace, or is it constant fighting and bickering? What are you going to do about that, right? So that's a lot of those things where we feel and see probably that we're leaning on one side or the other side. But the good thing is that we have God the Father, who is our perfect Father, who is the Father that we can look to. And He is there with the Holy Spirit guiding us, helping us. If we have leaned on one side, maybe the Holy Spirit is pulling us back to the other side. Maybe our foundation is wrong and we're starting to sink because our foundation is wrong. God's healing wants to work on our foundations. The lies that you believe, that you're nothing, you can't amount to anything, you'll never be good enough. All those kind of lies, that is causing you to sink to one side or the other side. And so I believe God has something for us today, and He's speaking to you, and He wants to heal and pull us back so that we become more balanced overall.